Okay, before you ask me the last question, I want to say one thing to the audience. So, whoever's watching this and just saw what happened, I just want to vocalize what you just saw because it feels like a conversation, but they didn't just hear something, they just witnessed something. And I think they need to understand that, right? So he heard some things from outside of himself. So what he chose to do is to step outside of himself and look at himself from the outside, unencumbered by ego or fear, only the desire to progress. And said, well, how can I progress? Given these facts that I just learned because I'm constantly in a state of learning, right? Given these facts, looking at me from the outside and not listening to your ego will always say, keep doing what you're doing.
It's going to look extra crisp on the finished product, all right?
Extra tasty, crispy.
That's it, bro.
That's what I'm talking about.
Man, so I came across your content maybe like a year ago, bro. Like when you were on Beautiful Now podcast with my man Derek Floyd. And I listened to your story, man, and I think I must have hit you up like right away. As a matter of fact, I think I was listening to it, and I think he had recorded that conversation with you in advance, and then I was like, let me look this brother up, let me check him out, and then I went ahead and checked your Instagram, and I saw that you were like live at the same time that it was being aired. I assumed that it was like that was I was very confused. I was like, this guy has a twin, like what's going on? It's very confused.
Like, wait a minute.
Yeah, something's going on here. Let me ask a question about this. So one of the things that jumps out at me when I look at like, you know, there's so much talent out there that I've come across like, you know, on social media and as I kind of like, you know, do my thing with the content creation journey that I'm on right now. And I'm always like, what always stands out is like people who, you know, are producers but have like the classical and or just theory background on like on music. That's stuff that really, I guess it shows in the actual music. And for a while, like I would hear certain songs by certain artists and I would say there's something different about this. Like I don't know, at the time I didn't know what it was. Like why does this sound so like just more amazing than this other piece over here that just has a nice beat to it or whatever. And so you have both of those things. I've joined, as you probably you know, you see me in your lives and stuff on Instagram. And so what's always fascinating, of course, bro, you already know, man. What's always fascinating is just like is me being able to watch someone who is that, you know, who has that background, being able to watch them at work. And I know that you do. I mean, I don't even know exactly the main reason. I can assume why you do it is because you probably know that there's some people that are watching. It's like, okay, this is like a master class in itself. You know, sometimes you're doing talking, sometimes you're just sitting there vibing, but just like being able to be a fly on the wall, I look at that as like super valuable and inspiring, you know?
Thank you, bro. Thank you.
Of course,
I never had a me. So I think it's cool to be that me for somebody else.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that somebody else being one or a million people doesn't matter so much to me as the fact that I make myself available for what I wish I had 20 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, if there had been a live where I could literally just watch the people I call my big brothers now, Babyface, Teddy Riley, you know, Dr. Dre in the studio working on the track. What?
Yeah, it's insane.
Just for free, just because they want to share it with me? Like I'd have been there, bro. So there.
Right.
Less trial and error for me. Quicker path. You know what I'm saying? So why not make myself available like that? I'm going to do it. I got a phone right here. Right. You know? The only reason not to do that is if you're intimidated by or you don't want people to see you make mistakes. There's a lot of ego involved. But for me, that's not an issue. It's just I want people to have somebody to look at and say, okay, well, he's setting a bar for me as far as what I know and what I'm able to do. And if I ask a question, he'll just give me an answer. And I can go straight to the answer. I don't have to like figure out whether it's right or not. I know that source is telling me the truth. So that's a whole lot of research. I just asked one question, just killed like 2-3 weeks of research trying to figure out which answer is the right one.
Yeah.
You know, that's it. If you look up something on the internet, the same community will have opposite answers for the same thing. Look up any disease or treatment or anything. Like you'll have a bunch of doctors on this side that say you should never do that, and you should have doctors on the side you should always do that.
Yeah.
So even though the internet is full of information, you don't know what information to trust.
Right.
So it ends up being almost the same as if you didn't.
Right.
Exactly. Only you're more confused at the end of it.
Right.
Because you're reading a bunch of opinions, you know, and it can be frustrating. It was frustrating for me because I had the internet, but I didn't have YouTube. Mm-hmm. And that's a whole nother thing. I didn't have Google per se, like not the way it is now. So I had to ask questions of people. I had to do a lot of trial and error and, you know, hardware, software problems, all that stuff. Man, I want to make that a little bit less friction, more aerodynamic for somebody with talent.
Yeah.
Who and you know, with talent, developing skill. Yeah. You know, help that skill development along because the talent deserves to be executed.
Man, that's spot on, and that's a timely message too, because like, you know, take someone like me for example. I was just having a conversation with my boy just a few minutes ago, and you know we're gonna get to Little Engine in a little bit because you know I listened to that earlier today. You know I have to get myself in the mood for this conversation, so we got to talk about that.
There it is.
I was just really just thinking to myself like I was spending a lot of time, more focus and more attention on building my brand, which at a time I thought was important or is very important, and less time on having fun and being creative and just enjoying that whole thing of just sitting in front of the piano and learning a new piece of sheet music, which for me is still extremely invigorating, or just messing around and creating something from scratch. I was always thinking about, you know, Erik, like what kind of content can I make with this to build my brand and inspire others or whatever the case is. And one morning, a few months ago, I woke up and specifically on Instagram, I was like very much like focused on that platform. Like, all right, I need to make sure that I have this thing about, you know, my brand and stuff so I can continue to grow. But I was just saying to myself, I was like, what the hell sort of benefit is me posting a piece or something that I'm proud of on Instagram? What's the real benefit of posting it on there when we all know that it's probably not going to be seen by a whole lot of people because of the way the algorithm works and because it's not the type of content, like, you know, the stuff that they really push.
Yeah,
and
so not even all the people that follow you.
Exactly. Such a small percentage, such a tiny percentage. And then we're all human, so we feel like, dang, I thought this came out dope. I thought it was creative, but I guess it wasn't. Let me go try again. And it was like that rinse repeat cycle. Now, because I'm blessed, so another side of me that you may not know is I have a tutoring and mentoring business, right? So I tutor math, and it's going so well, and I'm so blessed that I have this. Awesome. Man, it's so dope. Like teaching math to students. I used to be a teacher, and now being able to kind of do this on my own terms and see that side of my business grow, and it puts me in a place where I just, not completely, but almost completely stopped caring about the brand building and all these other things that have to do with the creative side, and now I'm just like having so much more fun with it. I think the other stuff is, I think I'm a good person, I think I'm creative, I think I'm, you know, able to connect with people, all that stuff, so that's gonna like happen organically, but I'm not like focused on it. I'm not focused on which hashtags do I got to put with this post to get, like, that stuff was driving me crazy having to think about that all the time, and it's just refreshing, man, you know.
I have so much to say about that. I don't want to make this too long. That what you just said, like there's so much to that. As far as, you know, I've been the person that won the trophy because I'm the one that cares the least, right? About the contest. I care about the work. I don't care about the contest, right?
Yeah.
I don't really care about the trophy. I entered because it's something that will challenge me to do what I do, and it gives me more practice. I'm not here for this. I'm here for the rest of my life. This contest is practice for the rest of my life. This isn't anything in and of itself but that. If I get a trophy for it, cool. Right?
Yeah.
But, you know, I would be in a contest when I was younger and I'd do something, and I remember being in a room and some kid from across the room was like, "What did you do this year?" I was like, I did this. He was like, oh, man, I did that. Because he figured, he knew I was going to win. I was like, dude, first of all, I didn't win yet. Like, even if I don't, it's no big deal to me. Like, if somebody else beats me, congratulations. It's all good. But, they care so much. And then I did win. But it was just like, because I'm not thinking about the trophy. Like, I'm not thinking about the contest when I make the thing. I'm thinking, oh, this is what I have to do for this contest. I'm going to do that in a way that is fun for me, in a way that expresses my creativity in a cool way, maybe that I haven't tried before. That's exciting for me. I've already won because that is exciting for me, more exciting than somebody handed me a trophy.
Yeah.
So
much more.
I'd get up. I just get up before. This is a formality. We have to do this part because that's why I did it. But that's not, when the first time I ever did stand-up comedy, I didn't plan to do it. My friend gave a woman $5 so I could have 5 minutes, and I just came to see him. I didn't have anything prepared.
Oh boy.
And I wrote my set in 5 minutes because the guy after him was the guy before me. So I only had his set to prepare for my set.
Yeah.
And I got it was a room full of comedians like doing comedy for each other, and they clapped for me when I walk off the stage. I was like, that's the first really response I had heard from all night. They clapped. I walked outside, and a bunch of comedians came out. They were like, dude, was that really your first time? I was like, yeah, bro. One of them was like, I threw up my first time. I was like, yeah, that was my first. And then a lady came out and she was like, you want to be part of a contest? So this is Thursday. The contest was Monday. So it wasn't even like I had like months to prepare. Contest is Monday. So I was like, yeah, why not? Sure. So I did the contest. The guy that I came to see also did the contest with me. He got second place at the contest. I got third place. And the dude we were sitting talking to got first place. So our table just took all the trophies. So it was weird. They just called all of us up. So it's like I'm getting third place in a comedy contest in Los Angeles. What? 4 days after my first stand-up ever that I didn't plan to do. It's because I don't care. It's because if I got up there saying, oh my God, this is my first time doing this, I wouldn't have done even close to the performance that I would have done if I just thought I'm going to have fun. Like, I'm just going to go up there. Fun is contagious, bro. Worry is not. Like, and it's contagious in a bad way. Like, when you get up there, people want to feel your energy. If your energy is worried about whether you're going to lose or mess up or not, how's that going to work? Right?
You're going to be able to see that
first
right
of all,
away.
To err is human, right? Messing up is part of the game. Like you're going to mess up sometimes and you're not going to know when. That's just how it is. You're not going to know you're going to mess up before you know. You don't get a warning. God is not like in 5 minutes. You're going to jack up. You might want to stop now. Nobody's going to do that.
Yeah.
So sometimes when you're going to mess up, and you're just going to have to go to recovery mode because that just happened. But how do you recover if you're concentrating on the fact that you just messed up? How do you not mess up if you're constantly worried about messing up? You're going to mess up more.
Yeah.
Your messing up is going to get less if you're literally just having fun. It's like in a conversation, right? You can't practice for a conversation. And people have conversations every day. Every time somebody asks you a question, you have to answer it on a dime, right then and there. And nobody says, oh my God, he just asked me a question, right? Because we've been trained to believe that type of on the spot is okay. That's just a conversation.
Normal, natural. Right.
But if I have 10 days to write something and then I get on stage, I'm scared.
Oh man.
But I walked outside and dude said, hey, what do you think about so-and-so? And I had a whole soapbox ready for him. Oh man, and man, the Democrats are this and Trump is that. And I went in, right? I wasn't prepared for that. I didn't know he was going to ask me that question, but I went in because I didn't care if I mess up this answer. And two, because I'm actually speaking from my heart. Only thing I'm concerned about is what I actually believe and what I'm passionate about. So it just spews out of my mouth naturally. Yeah. So that's because of those two things. Well, if you can apply those two things to performance, it's no longer scary.
That reminds
You're
me.
less
that
on the
reminds me.
spot. You're less on the spot on stage than you are in a regular conversation.
If you have that mindset, man, that resonated, bro. When I was teaching a couple of years ago, I was asked when the school found out that I can play piano, they asked me if I wanted to play as the students were walking in during the MLK assembly, and this would have been the very, very first time ever playing in public ever for anyone. And I'll never forget that minute. When I read the email, I just got paralyzed for a second. I was like, shoot. I was like, well, let me figure out some excuse to say maybe I'm going to be absent that Friday and I won't even be in school. So I was literally thinking about that 'cause I was that nervous. But fast forward, and I actually did it. And, I asked for some advice on a Facebook piano group. And people had some amazing advice, just really amazing advice. And I've read it all. And I ended up doing an episode of my show about that, just reading through the advice. Because I felt this can apply to everything related to stage fright. And now when I talk about like any opportunity to play, and this is another thing we'll talk about in a minute, like playing or listening to music with headphones versus not with headphones versus through nice speakers or whatever. I love playing the music like out, not just for myself to hear. And so any opportunity to do that, it's a whole different, even when I'm like going live, like here, like kind of like you, right? When you're going live, you have your speakers going and you have the phone there. If you had your headphones on and you had it all wired up so that, the sound is going through your USB cable into your phone, which you can probably do as well. It's just something different about that. It's like in a silo. It's too technical. I just like being able to hear the actual sound waves in the air and have these people hear the same thing that I'm hearing. Is something amazing, and that really set the stage for me. Like any opportunity I get now, like I love playing, man. Like coffee bars and coffee, the coffee shops, things like that. I'm like, yo, sign me up. Like I'll be there. Like let's keep that going.
Yeah, but that's only gonna, like, I thought of something last week and I meant to post and I never posted. It was every level is practice for the next one. So everything you did to practice for this, you're only practicing for a higher level of practice. And another thing that I always say is that the human life span is not long enough to reach a human's potential. So the goal is not to reach your potential. You'll never reach your potential. That means you're as good as you could possibly be. That's never going to happen, right? If you lived 80 years, all things equal, your mind still works the way it did when you're 20. If you made it to 100, would you learn anything else? Would you be any better in 20 more years? Yeah, you would, right?
Probably.
So the only thing a human can do is get cut off as far along as possible. That's all you can do. So when people are like, man, I got to reach my potential. I don't. I'd hate that. I'd hate to reach my potential. I'd hate not to be able to grow anymore.
Yeah.
Like what? That's terrible.
That's
like I'm as good.
True. Yeah.
Like to know I'm as good as I'm ever gonna get right now. Like I could practice all I want to, and this is it.
You just
that's depressing as hell.
Yeah, that's
what?
a fact, man.
No, I'm trying to grow forever.
Yeah.
I'm trying to grow forever. I mean, to quote Dr. Dre, I don't want to be around nobody I can't learn from.
And that's
you talking about somebody who's done more than people dream of.
Yeah.
By a lot.
Yeah. A lot.
Who has affected the whole world more than twice. You know what I'm saying? Like who the people he has affected have affected the world more than twice. And he don't want to be around nobody he can't learn from. He wants to grow. He wants to be able to do more stuff. Yo, show me how to do. I'll be playing the studio. Yo, show me it. What was that? Show me that. That's Dr. Dre. But you don't become Dr. Dre unless you're that person. Unless you're focused not on the money, not on the trophies. The reason you get the trophies is because you're not focused on the trophies. The reason you get the money is because you're not working for the money. It's because you have decided to create a value inside of yourself that other people will be willing to pay for. Be willing to pay for the use of your ability and your talent and the product that comes from it. So there's two types of people paying for your value. There are the people that are able to do it with you and for you to do it for. And then there's the people who take advantage of the product that's made by that union, they also pay for it. Those two people being willing to pay for a value that you've placed inside of yourself is how you become successful. Concentrating on the money itself makes no sense. That's a byproduct. That's not a product. Money is a byproduct.
Right.
Money comes from doing something else. So why not focus on the thing that you're doing? Right. So, or being something else, Yeah. So the focus a lot of times is in the wrong place, and things like ego, nervousness or fear, those are things that take your focus and put them in the wrong place. So there's a level of jitters that you get just knowing that this is a big thing you're about to do that's healthy, but there's a level of nervous induced worry that's not healthy.
Oh yeah.
It switches your focus now to the possibility of a negative rather than the fact that this is amazing, period. Like what you're doing is, you wouldn't be this nervous if what you're doing wasn't incredible to be doing, right?
Yeah.
That's where your focus should be. And the fact that you practiced for the practice that led you to this moment, which is practice for the next moment.
Yeah. You're ready.
So,
you're prepared for it.
You're over prepared. You're more than prepared. When I came to when I came from Huntsville to Los Angeles, I was overqualified for anything they could ask me to do here. No one has ever asked me to do anything in the studio, and I've been like, that I can't do. Ever. Right? But I was in Huntsville for 9 years. I was in Huntsville for 9 years, which I call my incubation period. I wasn't there. I was there over twice as long as you go to college. So in less than half of the time I was there, people go to college and graduate with honors, right? I spent twice that long, some of which in college, to get as good as I am. So I'm not good because I'm me. I'm good because I'm me with that much time in the game, with that much attention to the detail of practice and learning and getting better every day. And knowing that if I sit down at this seat in front of this computer, when I get up, I'm better than when I sat down every time. Do that for 9 years straight, you're going to be nice.
Oh, hell yeah.
Right? If it's the area that you have aptitude in and talent in, and you spend moments of your life after moment doing that, and you're treating each individual moment as a moment in and of itself to become better at a thing that's related to what you do, then you're going to be nice, bro. You just got to spend the time.
Yeah.
And then when you get there, you just be.
Yeah.
It's not about doing at that point. It's about being, because you've already put that value inside of yourself. So you get to the place where somebody might see that talent and want to use it, and you just are. That was what I did.
That's powerful, man. So let me ask you this. So walk me through to the best of your ability, because I'm a couple things here. When it comes to making music and producing, I wonder if song, like we're gonna talk about Little Engine. That song, did that song come about with you in the studio working on something that wasn't necessarily destined for anything, and then eventually, and then later on you were like, oh, check this out? Or was that like, yo, we need a song, we need this kind of vibe, boom, 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 and then you're working on something specific that you kind of, that became Little Engine?
That happened like Star Trek. That happened with Jean-Luc Picard, Dr. Dre, at the console. Jordin, me on on this side of the studio, Focus over here, them joints over there. The ICU, man. I'm part of, to me, the greatest team in music. Like, there's really nothing this team can't do musically. You got Dr. Dre at the helm, and you got these multifaceted producers, all of us, who all sing, rap, play, produce, write. Like, we're all everything.
The whole, yeah. Wow.
And then you put all that together, And then Eminem is in the next room. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
So, we're there. And we're, the homie pulls up a sound by Arturia. That starts it off. And Dre's like, that's dope. And we just go in. So that was part of a situation where Eminem was here for a while, for I think a couple weeks or something. And he was in Studio B. We were in Studio A. And we're just making tracks, making ideas, formatting them out, sending them to B. Make another track. Oh, that's a cool idea. Send it to B. He's over there getting tracks all day long and figuring out what to write to. Who I want to write to that one. He writes to it, and then he walks over to A and says, this is what I just wrote to the track y'all just did. One of those tracks is Little Engine. We're like, the experience of like, man. So just the greatness that's around, just being a part of things that are that great, like people who really do what they do. Like everybody in here is a scientist. You know what I'm saying? Nobody in here is a gangster. Everybody in here is a nerd. Let's just be honest, right? Nobody in this room is a gangster. Like if you mess with them and theirs, you'll probably get it as if they were. However, it's not about a color fuss.
Yeah.
And and we're nerds first. We care about the science of it. We care about why it sounds good. We care about what frequencies does this snare contain. And how is this going to affect the mood of the listener? How's it going to affect Dre when I just throw it up on the speakers and he hears it for the first time? He's like, you get that?
Yeah.
Like, that's where we are, bro. So it's like, it's one of those times when even the jitters that we were talking about before, that's practice too. So when every time you perform, it's practice for the moment when you're in the studio, and you're performing there too. You're performing everywhere, right? Anytime you do what you do, you're performing. Just not necessarily for thousands of people, but in a way, performing for thousands of people is easier than performing for just Dr. Dre, right? Like you're making a hip hop track for Dr. Dre. That's more nervous inducing than a stadium full of people, right?
Of course.
But it don't make me nervous. To me, it's fun because I'm just being like, there's love. There's no ego in the room. It's a mutual admiration society. All of us are waiting to see what the other one is gonna do, and we have nothing but respect for each other. So when anything happens, whether it's liked or not, or whether we keep it or throw it away, nobody cares about that. We're all in service of the record.
Man.
Because there's no egos in the room, we're all in service of the record. Whatever the record wants, the record gets. And whatever the record wants, it's in the room because we're all in the room. And there's nothing a record wants that we don't have. So we're going to give it to. It's like if you're a parent, this is our baby that we're all creating together. Whatever it wants, it's going to get. If it takes me a little longer to play something, it takes me a few more takes, it's going to get it. And Dre is going to be like, take as many takes as you want.
Man.
Are you okay? I love that. Are you okay with it?
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's like, oh, okay, do it again. You already know what that face means. Okay, I already know what's about to happen. Do it again. Fine. You know what I'm saying? I love that take, but he knows that we're all creators in our own right, and we have an idea of the thing that we want, and he wants to hear it too. And the only way to hear it too is if he lets us do it. So he does. And then you get stuff like Little Engine, and you get stuff like Animals with Anderson .Paak on the soundtrack, on the Compton soundtrack, where I'm playing
fire,
damn near everything but the sample and singing the backgrounds with Anderson. But because it's like, well, this needs this, well, I could do it. This needs that, do it. This needs this, do it. But when you have the sensibilities of the people in the room that just know how to make good music, hip hop or no, then you get great stuff. And we're so focused on the fact that it's great stuff and we want to hear the next great thing, and nobody's in the room wondering anything or nervous or worried about, are they going to like this? We throw our stuff out there for it to be shot down.
Everyone's not going to like everything. There's going to be certain things that, because music is so, everything is not going to be the same level of just hitting the right way.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Of course not.
We're
no
searching for it. We're searching for it
exactly
through the rubble, right? So the rubble's gonna be our ideas too.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
Yeah,
we're gonna throw some stuff up there, and that one didn't make me feel like it's supposed to. How about I do this?
Yeah,
it's a journey toward the take, but you'll never,
so
you won't spend.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying you won't spend half that journey if you're concerned so much about what is this individual take gonna do? Is this gonna be the one that they like, or is this gonna be the one that sounds good when I end up doing it? That's not gonna get you to the take. What's getting you to the take is concentrating forward at all times. Is that the take? Cool. If it's not, let's get to it.
Exactly. We're destined to get there, man. So this is super insightful, man. Just having a chance to kind of get a glimpse, right? The way that you kind of painted that picture about like what that's like. Us as fans, we hear the finished product, and me as a producer, someone who, man, like I'm still figuring things out, right? I feel as though, when we talk about that combination of classically trained and understanding theory, coupled with all these other different ways of producing and making music, I think to myself, like this year, I really, really want this year to be a year where something that makes sense for me and for the music happens with the music. And that's something, what I've always envisioned from when I was 16, 15 years old. It's not necessarily making tracks for other artists or anything like that, although that could be part of it, maybe. The big thing with me is like this type of music that I make is more for a cartoon or video game or score or that type of thing. That's like what I envision. That's what everyone who listens to myself, like, I can hear that, and that's what people say. I can hear that in a video game. They say that, right? And so for me, I'm like, all right, what I've been kind of concentrating on and figuring out right now is like, when I make music, I never have a starting point of like a loop or a sample, or I should say I used to never do that. I always just like, boom, sit in front of my keyboard, let me come up with a chord progression, let me come up with the sound or whatever, and like starting from scratch and layering it up. I had no idea for so long that I would say the majority of people who produce music, they start with a loop that they buy from a sample pack store or something like that. They start over there, you know what I'm saying? And they use that, and it's perfectly dope because they flip it and make it sound totally different because they have a different skill set. But for me, I'm like, I can do that as well, but that's not nearly as fun as it is making something, all these textures starting from scratch and then making it sound a certain way. So for me, part of where I think my focus, I want it to be for this year is that market of, because I'm blessed that I don't necessarily need, like, I mean, everyone wants to earn and stuff like that, but like I could make stuff and I can have a webpage, Khordmaster.com, which already is up and running, right? I can have like free, like my 10 best, I'm kind of talking to myself now, right? Like talking and like inspiring myself. My 10 best musical ideas, in my opinion, that I've made, and like make those into sample packs that people can download and do whatever they want with, and be like, yo, check this out. And then tag me so I can see what you create with it. Like, why haven't I done that yet? That's dope. You know what I'm saying? I'm a Khordmaster. I can play chord progressions. I can do that. It's just a matter of taking that first step,
Yeah, you talking to me too, bruh. Cause
same thing.
You have no idea how many why haven't I done that yet's happen every day.
Yeah. Okay.
So many things like, oh man, I should do that. I should do that. But there's so many other things to do. So a lot of times it's just time management. Okay, I'm going to devote this time to that. And when do you do that? That's a big, any creative, especially multi-creative.
Yeah. How
do you organize the time that you spend on what? That's a huge thing. Oof. And a lot of times the people that do that the best are the ones that make it, because even the ones that don't have as much skill as somebody else, they know what to spend their time doing.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't understand that that is a skill. That is an important skill. That may, it's arguably more important than any other skill, knowing what to do when.
Yeah.
And it's also the reason why a lot of people have managers and agents and business managers and people like that, because their whole job is to tell you, do this at this time because this is going to be most beneficial to you.
Yeah.
So you doing that well is a whole other thing that you should count as a skill, not just what am I going to do today and then just do it. That decision, get better at that. See it as a skill and develop it. Because productivity is every bit dependent upon that.
Yeah.
Regardless of how good you are, good doesn't mean productive. Busy and productive are two totally different things. Right?
Man, you are talking, bro. That's a fact.
We know a whole lot of people who are productive and seem like they're always chilling, but they but how did you get that opportunity? You just be chilling. No, the moments that I spend doing stuff work. The moments that I spend doing stuff are concentrated by my skill of knowing what to do when. And then you see people who are working all the time, always tired, and never have nothing. Because they don't have that skill.
Man.
And they might be good at what they do, but they don't know when to do it, who for, and why. So that person needs to either some of that isn't all of us. That person needs to either team up with somebody whose whole job is this is what you do this time for this reason. And then you just commit to doing what they say. They can't do it, but they know when to do it, and their talent is just as valuable as yours. So call that person a manager, whatever you want to do, give them 20%, whatever you do, but link with that person because that person has an instinct for what to do when. That's invaluable to a creative. If you can be that for yourself, that's even more valuable.
Wow.
But there's always a choice every moment of a day what to do. Every moment of the day what to do. If you don't punch a clock like we don't, then it's always on you what you're doing. People don't understand there's a security in punching a clock. Everything has pros and cons. There's security in that. You know what you're going to get every week. You know how many hours you can calculate stuff I can't calculate. I know, okay, the record's doing well. How well? I don't know. Like I really don't know till I get the check or till I get the award or somebody tells me, oh, it's playing like crazy over here in Nova Scotia. Like I don't know. It's just doing well. But if you got a 9 to 5, you know exactly how well you're doing. Like there's no question.
Spot on.
I'm gonna get this much on this date. I can budget for that.
Right.
We don't have lives like that. We got to pick what to do well enough that later on what we did is paying us. It's a big deal,
man. That's that I need to turn that part right there into something for a lot of people to hear. That's like every time I have these conversations, there's so much value in these talks that I have and these connections that I have with people. And for a time when I would put these hour-long conversations on my YouTube channel, on the same channel where I have tutorials of how to use Koala Sampler on the iPad or how to use Teenage Engineering 01 or play chords or whatever, I realized that, man, there's a slight slight different audience for the people that are watching content A versus content B. And it turns out that in my 2+ years now of being a content creator, I use that word. I mean, I am that, right? I make music, I make content. That's what I'll consider it as. And I learned just yesterday. So all the stuff that you're saying right now, like yesterday was the day for me where something kind of came over me where I just realized that, okay, like I don't know how to best explain it, but just I was making these strategic changes to certain things that just make so much sense that I was praying on, right? Saying like, I need some guidance. I'm not sure about this. Like, am I doing this right? Or, that type of thing. But the long and short of it is that these conversations are not even probably, I would say just are, period, the most important content that I create because I've learned so much from so many different people, including this conversation. And when it comes to inspiring others, the vast majority of people are not watching an hour-long conversation of me talking to someone. But yesterday was the day where I'm like, all right, this is probably gonna be episode 90 or so when this one drops, right? So
Right.
90 conversations. First of all, why aren't each and every one of these on a proper podcast format where people can subscribe to it and listen to it themselves? Why did I assume? I mean, I know why I did that. I just wanted it on YouTube. If you want to just listen to it, sure, you can just listen to it on YouTube. But they're not as podcast format. They need to be. They need to be on podcast. It's very easy to do. So that was thing number one. And thing number two, more of like an algorithm thing with YouTube, was I was pushing back on it because I was trying to say, damn, I have so many different interests. Music obviously is one of them. Connecting with people in this way and having these conversations obviously is one of them. Playing Super Smash Brothers, literally video games. Like, I'm into gaming. I have the control right here. I play competitively. I'm nasty in it. So that's one of them. That's a yeah, man. People wouldn't know it, right? Because I don't post about it or whatever. I play a lot of that, right? And obviously there's a community of people that also love watching that and stuff. That should be a part of my brand, right? Why wasn't it? And then
100%.
Doing weird, funny, like practical joke kind of things with my wife. That's another thing where I do, and I like record. I'm like, damn, this would be so funny for people to see, but the person that likes content A is not the same as B, C, and D. So I had to kind of learn. I was like, damn, well, that's all part of me. So I'm just gonna give you it all, and watch what you want or whatever kind of thing. But there on YouTube, at least, I learned yesterday, and even having someone like yourself who's an expert in the YouTube game on a show, and he was like, he's like, if I were you, like, you have to have a separate YouTube channel for these conversations. These conversations should not be on the same channel. There's several different reasons for it that he broke down. But ultimately, yesterday was the day where I'm like, all right, let's do it. So I had a photo shoot a few weeks ago. I was like, boom, this is like a rebranding kind of thing, And I'm like getting those things in order. And I just feel so much more excited because at a time I was thinking, all right, these conversations aren't getting, nearly as many views as the koala sampler tutorial. So should I still be doing them? Should I? It's like, absolutely. I have to be doing them. It's not even a should. It's like, these are what's so important. So now thinking about what you just, like the point that you just made just now, that needs to be packaged in a way. And it takes time to do, right? To go through these episodes and be like, this is the best point. This is the best point. This is 60 seconds or 30 seconds worth of like a knowledge drop. That takes time to do, but it is, I think, quite important. If I care about people getting the information, that's why I'm having these talks. It's not just for me. It's not just for the guests. It's for others. I have to, take some time or pay money to someone to say, hey, I need, a company or whatever the case is, figure that piece out. But it's a never-ending journey, and I'm just excited that I'm getting some clarity, in this conversation and even in this current season. Maybe I'm getting wiser because my wife and I are expecting a little one. I'm gonna be a girl dad in less than 2 months. And
wow.
Yeah, man, super.
That's dope.
Crazy, right?
That's dope.
I'm so excited. So I'm just look, I got this sitting right next to me right here. Boom, I got the we're pregnant first time.
And the video game controller. You ready for kids, bro?
Exactly. I got it literally sitting right next to each other, man. Hey, man, just trying to be the best I can. So look, I'm gonna be respectful of your time. So I'm gonna ask one more question for you, and then we're gonna wrap.
Before you ask me the last question, I want to say one thing to the audience. So whoever's watching this and just saw what happened, I just want to vocalize what you just saw, because it feels like a conversation, but they didn't just hear something, they just witnessed something, and I think they need to understand that. You saw me say some things. You saw that someone had said some things to him yesterday. You saw the skill of objectivity happen, right? So he heard some things from outside of himself. So what he chose to do is to step outside of himself and look at himself from the outside, unencumbered by ego or fear, only the desire to progress. And said, well, how can I progress? Given these facts that I just learned, because I'm constantly in a state of learning, right? Given these facts, looking at me from the outside and not listening to your ego will always say, keep doing what you're doing, right? Wow. Not necessarily do more. Your ego doesn't say do more. Your ego says you're doing a great job. Keep doing that, right? But if you're ever going to optimize, what if iPhone, when it got to the iPhone 8, was like, ego kicked in. It was like, this is the best phone in the world. Nothing's ever going to be better than that. We on 13 now.
Yeah.
Right? No, you wouldn't respect any company that thought like that. That didn't continue to give you new material and grow and make everything that they have better. You wouldn't respect the company and you'd forget about them. Right?
Yeah.
So if you want to be forgettable, that's how you do it. Get happy with where you are right now. You become the company that doesn't grow, right? Because we're all company. We're all businesses. We're all entities in and of ourselves. We should have policies. And sometimes we have to be a team of one because we're the creative and we're the person who does it. So it helps to have the skill of objectivity where I can just say, and why I'm saying it the way I'm saying is because I'm expressing to you what the barriers are to that when I tell you what it is. The barriers are negative emotions like fear, anger, hatred, and ego. Right? Those are the barriers to objectivity. Those are the things that render you unable to sit back and look at yourself from the outside and say, ooh, but okay, so I'm doing this, but what if I did it this way? Or what if I did that? Or what? Oh, that's going to take a lot of work. But you're thinking of it from an investment standpoint. Money and time, people say time is money, but they don't treat them both the same way. If time is money, then why don't you treat them both the same way? It's an investment of time. So if I'm going to spend this time, what's the return on that time?
Yeah.
You just had that conversation with yourself, with me watching. I was like, I hope they notice what they're seeing right now, because you don't get to see that in a conversation. You don't get to see that in a podcast. You just get to see people talk about it. But you went and did it in front of them the same way I make records on my live. You just did that with objectivity and planning and skill and looking at yourself from the outside. You did the same thing I do when I'm making a track on my live. And I just wanted to make sure if they didn't see it, retrain their brain to be like, I witnessed something. I didn't just listen to somebody talk. I witnessed something happen, and I should do that. And I should keep doing it. And I should never stop doing it, because that's how you continue to grow.
Wow. Well, I appreciate you, really appreciate you sharing that, man, because I think that that if you didn't say that just now, even I, along with guests, would have not really thought, you know what I'm saying? Not really like realized that it was noteworthy. And what you just kind of did just now is like, if things aren't said, then they can't be certain things can't be assumed
to be understood, right?
Yeah, exactly, man. And I'm like in that season now where people that I meet, a lot of people that I meet like through social media and stuff, that I see what they're doing, I'm like, yo, that's really impressive, or yeah, that's really good. It's like, let me just send them a message, or let me comment. A comment is fine too, but let me send a message like a thoughtful one, not just a liking it, like liking and stuff like that kind of. I'm just like not in the season for that, just because it's just is not is hollow, I guess is the word. It's like what is like what is it, you know? So I'm super appreciative. That made me feel like that really moved me just now, because that, you know, I'm connecting with what you just said just now. And so before I ask the last question, I'm gonna throw this out there too. I hit you up. I had you. So by the way, I had your name on my board for a long time. Do you remember me reaching out to you and telling you that like I wanted to make a collage, like a video montage or something? Do you remember that? A long time ago? I don't know if you remember.
No, I don't remember that.
So I hit you up because I was joining right when I first started joining your lives, and I was like, yo, the same thing I said to you here. I was like, yo, this is like crazy, and more people can be inspired by this. If I'm inspired by it, I know a lot of other people that are similar to me that I've spoken to would love this type of thing. So I reached out and I was like, you know, I want to make, and this came shortly after a conversation where someone was like, if you have certain skills, like I have skills of video editing and making things look good and that type of thing I've learned over the years, and perhaps you don't have the time for it. You just said you have a lot of things going on. So I was like, yo, this is a perfect opportunity. Someone who I had on as a guest was like, this worked for him. He reached out to someone that was, you know, had a bigger sphere of influence and you know, has been in the game for longer. And he explained to me, you know, how that experience worked for him. And I was like, yo, that sounds crazy. Like, it was basically like giving something for free, right? Here, I'm going to make a little video for you. You can post it if you want, whatever, but it's just something that just to show that I appreciate and respect what you're doing. So it never happened. I had it on the list. I was like, yo, I got to get to this. I have to get to this. I have to get to this. And I know why it didn't happen. Now I'm sitting here talking. I'm like, okay, not even to make an excuse. It's like it is an excuse, but it's something about me. It's like when something is when something is so important to me that I know that I want to do an amazing job on it.
Yeah.
I put it at a place where I'm like, all right, I need to get myself ready for it. And I end up never being ready because I'm just like, I'm not like prepared for it, and I don't want to do a bad job on it, kind of thing. And so your name is still on the board there, Bluetooth video.
You're dropping gems right now.
And so, bro. Say it again.
You're dropping gems right now. It's like a lot of the stuff you're saying, I'm hoping people are hearing, bro. Because people who are listening to this, look up two things. Look up the first Facebook page. Just like Google that. The very first Facebook page, and it's something else. I don't know if it was the first Instagram page or something like that. They look horrible. They look like somebody got in Microsoft Word and just like made a random document. Now, look at what Facebook is right now.
Yeah.
And look at a Google image of the first Facebook page. It looks like it was never going to be anything. It looks like it couldn't possibly end up where it is now, the way it came out. Wow. But somebody wasn't so caught up on perfection. They were more caught up on starting. So there's a balance to that, and there's a line that you have to walk. It's not just get started no matter what, but it's also don't wait for it to be perfect, because it's never going to be perfect. So it's having a sense of when the time to start. The first time's not supposed to be as good as the 10th time.
Yeah. That
never happens. Yeah. So if you're waiting for perfection, you'll wait forever. So that was just, I think I said this on Pensado's Place, when I did my Pensado's Place episode. And I was like, you would have to know the future in order to be fully prepared for anything.
Yeah, true.
No human has the ability to fully prepare for something. You have to know not just eventualities, because eventualities may or may not happen. You have to know what's going to happen in order to really prepare. You're preparing for eventualities because you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So when somebody throws a tomato from the audience, you didn't practice your bit with the tomato. So you can't prepare for the feeling that's going to happen when you either dodge or get hit by the tomato that somebody's throwing at you from the audience. That's not something you can prepare for when you're working on your routine, right?
Yeah.
But it might happen, and what if it does, right? And that's the thing that scares people, but you got to understand, you're never going to be fully prepared. So if you live your life that way, you're never going to start or finish anything. So that's another lesson you just dropped, and I was like, I just need to speak on that, because that's another thing, because that happens to me all the time. I want excellence all the time. I know what it sounds like, I know what it looks like, I know what it feels like, and that's what I want, right? So I'm not trying to start nothing unless it's gonna make me feel like that before I'm done. So I know the feeling that you're talking about. There's definitely things that I haven't done yet because I gotta be in a specific place to do that. And I got to do it a certain way. And there's a place for that. But that place can't be perfection. You just have to be wary of if you're setting that place to a place where it'll never start.
Yeah.
That's part of the growth and continuance and progress process.
Yeah. That's as you're saying that, I'm saying to myself, what was the reason that I wanted to do that? Well, the reason was because there was a lot that I've gathered and I've learned from checking out your content. And now, fast forward a year later from when I sent that message originally, here we are with having a conversation where both of us are being, educated. And this is that content that I wanted to make last year. This is it right here. Like, this is going to be a thing that's the full conversation. And then here's those 2-minute little clips of like the best moments of it, which will be made now for sure. And man, man, I just want to say like definitely, hopefully this doesn't have to be the last time we do this. Hopefully we can revisit so we can have some, there's a lot more to unpack. There's a lot more to unpack for sure. Cancel. But yeah, man, I just wanted to, like I said, be respectful of your time, and I just want to say thank you again, man, for the time. And you know, I'm looking forward to I always look forward to, for people that live stream. I've been doing a lot of Twitch live streaming and having those guests on, and you know, yourself as well. We're on Instagram, so now I love entering the person's live stream after having this type of conversation with them. It's a different dynamic. You know what I'm saying? It's not just the random thing. It's like, yo, there's like a different connection. And so I look forward to whenever, you know, whenever that inevitable moment is.
I love it, bro. Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate the opportunity to be here on your platform, bro.
Hey, bro, my pleasure, man. You have an awesome rest of your day, and I'm gonna catch you on the next one. All right?
You too, brother.
But I was so moved by the story, man. I was like, I want to start off like a couple things about, you know, you being a man of God and you being someone who, you know, realized that God put, you know, music, the musical talent, you know, in you, and then you making that move from the East Coast down south. I think you were, right, when you moved over to California with.
I was south, yeah.
Yeah, with just your guitar. So I want to start with like that. If you can give me like a little high level, just for my viewers, just like about that journey a little bit, just to start out with, like what that was like and everything.
Well, I was in Huntsville, Alabama, right? Because I went to Oakwood College, which is, I don't know if you've heard of Take Six, but it's where Take Six went.
Okay.
It has quite a musical heritage. I went there in 96, dropped out in 98. I think I dropped out for the second time in 98. I think I went back. I went back at some point because I was like, well, the first time I went, I was like, you know, plan B, something to fall back on type stuff.
Yeah.
And then I was like, doing this lets me know how much I'm not going to do this.
Mm-hmm. Got you.
So it's like, I am wasting a lot of time and money right now.
Yeah.
Because I ain't doing none of this. And if I do this, I'm still going to do it.
Yeah.
So I'm out. So I left. And then I was like, maybe I should just go back and do something at least related to what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So I went back for piano performance.
Okay.
So my advisor, Lloyd Mallory, slid me in at the junior level. So I was a guy who's had maybe 6 months of piano lessons as a child, right?
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
And he put me in a junior. He was like, I know you can do this. He just put me in the junior level.
Yeah.
In college.
Mm-hmm.
I had to play, you know, Bach and Brahms, and I had to, like, you know, get graded for it.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So I did that. I mean, I did that. I did well. I learned the pieces. I had to learn to read again. Reading is not a talent, it's a skill. You don't do it for 20 years, you lose it.
Oh,
you know
absolutely.
What I'm saying? So
yep.
I taught myself how to read when I was a kid because there was some stuff I wanted to know how it was actually done. So I kind of figured it out. And then the lessons, I mean, in lessons, you're not going to learn how to read the stuff I wanted to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to kind of put a little more on that to learn what I actually wanted to learn. But then I did that. And the next time I'm reading, I'm in college for the second time. You know what I'm saying? So I did that. It was cool. Got good grades. You know, did recitals, did all that stuff. And then I was like, they are preparing me for 200 years ago.
Meaning?
Like, meaning this is how you're successful in the 17th century.
Ah, okay.
It's like they are literally making me fit for a century we're no longer even in. Like, what do I need this for? Like, no gig is gonna ask me this. It's like, even when I left college, I'm like, the time I'm spending here, I'm not learning what I'm actually gonna need.
Mm-hmm.
And when I actually left, and I was talking to my advisor for like 2.5 hours in his office while he was trying to get me not to leave because he thought I was throwing my, you know, life away.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, dude, I'm leaving college to learn.
Yeah.
I'm not leaving college to not learn. I'm leaving to stop wasting time and money learning what I don't need to do. Nobody's going to, he was like, well, what are you going to do when somebody asks you to analyze a piece?
As if that's gonna
happen
like tomorrow.
I was like, bro, okay, I got two things for that. One, no one ever is gonna ask me to analyze a piece. Not in this century. Right. Number two, if they do, I know how to do that.
Yeah, you got it. You
because one, information is free. If I don't know how to do it, I'll learn how to do it by the time I see them.
Yeah.
I said, information is free. You don't have to pay for this information. The only thing you pay for is the packaging of that information in a certain way, and the certification that you've learned that information. So somebody else says you learned it. That cost me, what, $20,000 a semester. Right. But I'm in a career where nobody cares whether I have that or not. So how, it doesn't make sense just to know exactly what I need to know, and not just what these old people think I did need to know 200 years ago.
Yeah. No,
so
it doesn't.
I left and did that. I went and built my own studio, but my first studio, recorded acts in the South, downtown where I was, and learned everything, mixing, every kind of engineering. I only played piano when I got to college. I play 5 instruments now. Mm-hmm. Wow. That started around that time. So, piano, guitar, bass, drums, and organ.
Oh, good stuff. And
some people be like, know organ,
piano.
You already play piano. What's the organ?
Yeah, they're different.
Not the same thing.
No,
they are not the same thing. Okay, just for anybody who would ask that question and think it's a keyboard instrument. Okay, the organ is 3 keyboards that you play at the same time, and you operate it. You don't just play it. You don't operate a piano while you play it. You play 3 keyboards, 2 up here and 1 with your feet, with an organ, and you operate the tone at the same time. So it's a little bit, and there's no sustain. So your hands have to make that fluid. It's a whole different way of playing. But anyway, so those are the 5 instruments I play now. I play organ because when I moved to California, church asked me if I played organ that I was going to work at, and I told them yes, and forgot I had said that.
Yeah.
And then they were like, "You're on organ today." When I got there, and I was like, "Oh, I forgot to learn organ."
Right. I did so I literally, that actually. Yeah.
I did. Because I planned to learn it by the time I got there, but I got caught up in other stuff, and I forgot that I was supposed to be an organist.
Yeah.
And I got there, and I had to learn organ in front of 2,000 people, but it happened. I'm an organist now.
Yeah. There you go. It's one of your 5 instruments. That's it.
Yeah. So, and of course, there's voice, which is an instrument.